Whole 2 minutes.
Appreciate it, sir.
Yeah. Hopefully didn't get too wild and all their minds not with me, again in that 2 minutes. We still have an hour to go and we still have to validate these, but at this point, validation of this is fairly simple, right? We'll just be doing the validation using a function. You all with me? So we have the data from the file. We showed it in a different manner just to show that we basically broke them up into different pieces. So it's not in the same format that it was in the file. Okay. Once we finish this while loop, we will know that we have all of the data, right? So at this point, we have all of the data that is stored. At this point, we have all of the data that is, from the file stored into a, what you call it? Into a structure, right? Or into the date structure. What do we want to do at this point? We also have a count on how many values were read from the file stored in the variable I. So if it is that we want to validate okay, we want to use a function to do this, a user-defined function, we have to declare the function, right? So we want to declare the user-defined function to validate data in the struct. And what does this function do? This function takes an element of data type date, and it returns 0 if it's valid and 1 if it's not valid. Okay? It returns 0 if it's valid and 1 if the date is not valid. So we return an integer, and we have to give the function a name, right? Date validator. And then we have to give the function a value going into there. Okay, and that value going into there is date. All right, of data type date. So we've declared the data type date. Sorry, I forgot to put a semicolon here. All right, we declared the data type date up here. We define the data type date. And now we are saying that a function date goes, date validator is the function, takes a variable of data type date and returns an integer. Okay. Now look at this. If I'm fairly certain if we put this before we declare the date, we might get an error, right? Because of the fact that date cannot be declared or defined after you've already called it. So that's something to note, okay? That is something to note. You have to remember the rules of sequence with your programming, and you have to declare this before and define this, before you can use this data type. Because the program doesn't know, well, what this data type is if you call for it before it was defined. All right? Everybody with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So good. So now that we've declared this, now be mindful that it is taking in a single variable of type date, not the whole array. So we have to pass in element by element. Okay? Clement, I know you're fighting it. I feel like it was up late or something, so.
Fighting what?
Yeah, I know that
Nah.
sometimes it was ask you, you want about twice. I fight into you one too.
No, no, sir. No, sir. No, no, no. I was
That's
a
all right. That's all right. I just messing with you. I know it could be you're working hard. All right. All right. So date validator, date, and now we have to define date validator a little bit down. But we could just put the, just the shell of the definition. Int date validator, right? And we have to now have a variable of type date that will accept the data associated with date, right? So date data. We can say for now return 0. All right, return 0. Or we could say anyway, return 0. Just for now, we'll change that. And then inside of here, we can say for what? For every value inside of record that is valid, we want to check it in the validator. Okay? So we have another counter J, right? So J, we have another counter J, and we say for J is equal to 0, semicolon, J is less than I, semicolon, J plus plus. What is this saying here? This is saying for every value that was put into the struct array. All right, so for every value that was put inside the struct array, what do we want to do? We want to validate it. We want to validate it, and we want to eventually count the validations. But for now, let's just simply R, and we'll say R is equal to 8 validator for records at position G. Pass a record into the validator and see what the result is. All right. So we pass a record into the validator and we'll see what the result is. For now, we don't have any data. The date validator returns 0, total zeros. So if it is that we were to print out printf and sign the backslash, and sign the \n, the value from R, we should just see the amount zeros coming up for all the dates because that's what date validator is doing. Okay. So this is the function to do the date validation. This is the function to do the date validation. So if I run it, I have a /n. This is a \n I meant to put. Okay. Look at that. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 data elements. And then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros coming out. And we only getting those zeros because the code to actually validate the date is not yet there. All right? So at this point, we know that we have to go into date validator and validate this date to see if the date is valid or not. I know that you all know how to validate a date, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I am going to do at this point, is I'm going to send this code to you, and everybody needs to print out the counter. So you still have to do a count based upon the value that was returned from the function. You all are getting half an hour. I will create an assignment portal. You have to get it to work. Feel free to work in groups, right? You all have half an hour, or actually let me give you 40 minutes. 40 minutes, you're going to do the validation and print out how many valid dates and how many invalid dates exist. Okay? Everybody understands the assignment?
See, when you were doing that in class, I was just hoping that you never say it again, you know, say. Well, look at it now. Come on, hit mark.
Look at that now. It's almost like if Mr. Valdez uses things that we did before to springboard for things that come to the future. So now we have to go back to that thing we did before and try and make it work. All right?
That's crazy.
Again,
So that's
yeah, I know this guy is the worst. Right?
So asking for a friend, when did we do the date validator?
I don't know. I have this condition where like everything in the past is all a blur to me. So I know in my heart that we did it, but I really can't remember when we did it. But that's okay because the code should be in your head.
We actually did not make code for it. We didn't make C code for it. We just did
Oh, you did it as a pseudocode algorithm.
Yeah, we did it as a pseudocode algorithm. That was like one of the first classes, so we didn't start C yet.
Wait, yeah, I think we did C code for it also.
Oh, there you go. Real said it on
so
video.
I have
Come
the
now,
validate the dates, so I could just copy and paste it.
Link one time.
All right. So I'm going to send this updated code to you guys now. You all have 40 minutes, okay? I'm going to pause the recording. At 10:40, we come back and we'll take a look at the solution, but you have to upload your answer, right? You have to upload your answer to get, some sort of mark. We could use this as a little exercise. All right. I think 40 minutes is way more than generous to do what we need to do here.
Yes, so you mind if I come out the meeting so I could do this? Because my laptop might want to blow up while I'm trying to use code blocks and Teams now.
That's all right. As long as you come back by 10:40.
Yes, sir. Of course.
All right. No problem.
See my laptop looking to